always say that things like this should be transported at night, when people are asleep in their homes and the streets are empty. That way, even if an explosion or something similar happens, the damage and the number of injuries would be much lower. Dangerous materials like these should preferably have specific transportation times during periods when there are no people in the streets. The truck driver survived the crash itself, but after a few weeks, he also lost his life due to the burns he had suffered. Skibidi. In 1992, a very terrifying video was recorded. What makes it even stranger is that the incident involved a skydiver, a sport that I honestly do not understand why people practice. This sport has existed for a long time, and people have been skydiving since the old days, including the 1990s. In skydiving, if a person's parachute does not open, then they are essentially doomed. There is no other option. The impact with the ground is something you would never wish upon anyone. Anyway, in most countries, the minimum age for skydiving is 16 years old, and this requires written permission and a signed consent form from the parents. In Colombia, the ages are different. The minimum age to skydive is 12 years old. In 1992, the parents of a boy named Christian, who was 13 years old, allowed him to go skydiving. Of course, this jump took place at a skydiving school, and during those years, not just anyone practiced skydiving because it was considered a daring hobby. Skibidi. On that day, Christian boarded the airplane and waved to his parents. He was happy, and his parents were happy as well. The airplane climbed to an altitude of 10,000 feet, which is about 3,000 meters. The door of the airplane was opened, and Christian decided to jump. Of course, he jumped without an instructor or anyone else accompanying him. Skibidi. As you can see in the video, that small dot you can see in the sky is Christian. In the video, you can hear his parents and the people around them shouting, "Open the parachute! Open the parachute!" The closer he got to the ground, the louder they screamed. As he continued getting closer and closer to the ground, everyone kept waiting for him to open the parachute. But the parachute never opened, and he eventually crashed into the ground. Skibidi. Paramedics and Christian's family arrived at the scene of the accident, hoping that he was still alive. And he actually was alive, but his condition was extremely critical. So they carried him and began transporting him to the hospital. His injuries were catastrophic. His body had been completely shattered by the fall, as he had hit the ground at a speed of 100 miles per hour. While they were on the way to the hospital, Christian passed away. During the investigation, it was confirmed that the skydiving school was responsible for his death. It was found that there were licenses and permits that the school did not have, and that the worker who had prepared his parachute had an expired license. When Christian's parachute was examined, investigators found that it had not been assembled properly. Because of that, it failed to open during the jump. As a result, the instructor's license was suspended, the school was fined, and after some time the school was completely shut down. Christian was a boy who intended to achieve his dream of becoming a skydiver, not knowing that pursuing that dream would become his end. Skibidi. In 2025, in a small town in the state of Sao Paulo, there was a supermarket called Covicia. On a Friday, it was a normal day at the supermarket. People were coming in, shopping, and everything was going smoothly. Suddenly, at around 11 a.m., they heard one of the shoppers scream loudly. People started asking what was happening, and then they heard another person screaming loudly as well. People could not understand what was going on. Suddenly, they looked outside and discovered that a swarm of aggressive bees was coming toward them and attacking people. The bees began stinging everyone. No one knew what was happening or where the bees had come from in the first place. Skibidi. The supermarket employees closed the doors. At that time, there was a large swarm of bees outside the supermarket. There was a 74-year-old man outside, and he became trapped. The bees attacked him, and people were unable to help him. He was stung a very large number of times until he lost consciousness. When the paramedics arrived to take the injured people and help the man, The bees attacked them as well and stung 7 paramedics. With great difficulty, the paramedics managed to carry the elderly man away. However, while they were on the way to the hospital, they discovered that he had passed away from the bee stings. Even though the man had no known allergy to bees or anything similar, the sheer number of stings caused his death. 11 other people suffered serious injuries from the stings.